And that sampling, that if it's chunky enough, friends, it could be the difference between somebody signing up with you and somebody not. Well, hey there, friend. Welcome back to the podcast. If you are watching on YouTube today, yes, I look a little like Barbie / Top Gun because I am wearing a pink jumper that ties at the waist. What else did my husband say? It looks like a little bit military, a little bit Top Gun, a little bit Barbie. so, so I'm here for it. If you are not watching on YouTube, if you don't just subscribe to my YouTube channel, I am about to give a couple visuals on this podcast. So I would love it if you flipped over to YouTube and watched there. You can just do a search for Jennifer Allwood. Hit the subscribe button and watch the video there because I'm about to show you like a visual demonstration. Okay, so here's my story. Ready? Okay, you see what happened was, all right, I'm going to give you a business lesson today that I just recently got while selecting floor samples for Bougie on the Beach #2. All right. So we are, wanting to have a second property closed in Florida by the end of this year. And because I'm a person who always does things in good faith in advance, I plan for things. I did a whole podcast on this. In fact, I should have looked up the podcast number. I've got it all decorated already. Like I have the wall colors, I have the wallpapers, I have the different subs that we're going to use, the contractor that we're going to use. Like I have all of that done. I have the sofa picked. And if you say, well, Jen, what if you, you don't even know what the room is. Okay, well, that's all right. I can get a variance of that yellow sofa. Okay. So let me see if I can find you guys this podcast number. It is basically like how I often plan for ahead of time. And this is not me manifesting, which in and of itself, manifestation, that's a word that's actually in the Bible, but people have taken it and perverted it and are using it in the wrong way. And so it's gotten a bad rap. But so this is not me manifesting, but this is literally me doing things right now that are assuming that the Lord is going to answer my prayers. And if not, then I assume that that's for my good. Okay. I don't see it. Sometimes quitting is a good thing. Da 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 da. I'm sorry. Why don't I see this? I know that it was just this summer. Just say no to boring emails, the answer to your income problems, knowing when to let go. Well, shucks. Okay, I don't want to keep acting on your heart's desires. Is that it? Maybe it is. Go check out episode 432. Okay, anyhow. So in assuming that we'll have another property by the end of the year, I've started, all the plans, like I was just saying. Well, I know that I've looked at enough properties in Florida to know that the majority of the time I hate the flooring. Here's why I hate the flooring. Little DIY / decorating tip for you. If you live in a home or if you have a rental property where you have tile / linoleum / hardwood floors / LVP or whatever else, and you have a lot of different / carpet, all these different floorings in your home, it's a very chaotic feeling. Okay. It is really chaotic to you and to people who are in your house if like none of the floors match. Now, I love having rugs. I love carpet, like in bedrooms. I love carpet instead of rugs. But what I'm talking about is like Jason and I, we had a property under contract in Florida a month or so ago, and ended up having a mold issue. And so anyhow, that's neither here nor there, but there was lots of tile. Then there was, some other floorings as well. And it feels very chaotic. So one of the ways that you make something feel bigger and you make it feel calmer is by making sure that the flooring, at least on a floor, is all the same. So all over, like in this house in Kansas City, for instance, we have hardwood floor from Nebraska Furniture Mart. All right. I assume that any place we buy in Florida is going to need new flooring. And I'm a huge fan of LVP, which is luxury vinyl planks, for those of you who don't know, for areas that are going to get wet. So we have LVP downstairs because we have a pool. And so kids are coming in, they're dripping wet, et cetera, et cetera. It's good for moisture. Well, if you're going to have a property in Florida on the beach, there's going to be moisture. There's going to be sand. There's going to be, dripping towels, all the things. So LVP is the way to go in an Airbnb, in my humble opinion. And I do have like a free 4-part series on LV or on Airbnbs if you ever want that. But here's my point. So I went to Home Depot and Lowe's, okay, because we have both in Kansas City. So in my head, what I was planning on looking at was getting some samples for an LVP that combines brown tones that are warm the gray tones that are cool. In Kansas City right now, we're really veering away from gray tones. And I do think you're really going to see a swing back to lighter flooring everywhere. I think that a lot of states already have that. What happens in Kansas City, since we're in the middle of the country, is a lot of decorating things trends start on the coast and then they kind of smash inward. So sometimes in Kansas City, we kind of get onto some decorating trends a little late in the game. But so if you're in New York, you're like, psh, light floors have already been in, Jen. Okay, yeah, I know, but we're here in the Midwest, so it's not that way. Okay, so I went to both Home Depot and Lowe's in the property that we had the contract under, and they took that property off the market so they could fix the mold problem. But we had both Home Depot and Lowe's. I had come out and bid, and basically they're bidding against each other. Okay, so then they both needed me to tell them, well, which LVP sample are you going to be using, right? So I went to the Home Depot and the Lowe's in Kansas City to get samples. All right, here is my story. What's super interesting to me, and this is why I hope that you are watching me on YouTube right now, is that when I went into Lowe's, this was the size samples I got. And I probably got this in 8 different colors. Like this one is called Mecklenburg Pine. So then I looked up Mecklenburg Pine because kind of hard to see off just this little thing, right? Because in my head, I'm like, okay, that's got some light tones. That's got some, this looks warm. This looks kind of cool. But my concern looking at this is, okay, but it also looks like it's got a lot of movement, which means on a big space, it could get really busy. It could have lots of highs and lows and depth in color, which sometimes people want. I in particular don't. I want people looking at my walls. I want them looking at the wallpaper. I want them looking at the furnishings. I want the floor just to be as neutral of a backdrop as possible. So that's why I would go to the website and I looked up, on the Lowe's website, this Mecklenburg Pine. But then again, it's like, well, some photos it looks kind of blonde in color. Other photos it looks kind of more gray. Some photos it's busier than others. And I'm like, oh, that's just kind of hard. So then I go to Pinterest and I'm looking up, those colors. And I'm like, okay, I feel almost more confused than when I started. How many of you feel that way when you get a bunch of samples? All right. Then I went to one Home Depot here in Kansas City. And same thing, they had the little samples, but they were actually just a little bit bigger. In fact, hang on. I forgot to get the sample. So this was from one of the Home Depots near me. And so I want you to look at the size difference, okay? So already I'm gravitating towards this sample with Home Depot because I'm like, okay, I can just see that so much better. And I know one of you is going to message me, what is that? So this is called Dusk Cherry, which I'm not going with only because the word cherry makes me think that it's going to lean a little bit red and I don't want red. Okay. So, but see how just the size difference makes you go, okay, I can visualize that so much more. Well, I was talking to my friend Dory, who her business is called Sweet Southern Charm. You can look Dory up on Instagram. She's amazing. And she's like, I would go and look at such and such a color from Home Depot. It's one she's used before. And I'm like, okay, let me see if I can figure out where that's at. And then both Home Depot and Lowe's both called me and they're like, hey, you've gotten our estimates. Have you made any decisions? And I'm like, well, I'm still looking at colors. I know that property, fell through. And one of the ladies from Home Depot, because she had exceptional customer service, she's like, well, hey, if you want to see, this particular color, she goes, let me see where that's at. Oh, you need to go to the Gladstone store, Home Depot, and they have samples there. So I get into my vehicle in the next couple of days and I tootle over to the Home Depot. You guys, I want to show you the samples. I got 4 different colors at Home Depot, and here's the sample. Okay. Here's the sample. If you're watching on YouTube right now, you can see that I'm about to stand up to the sample. Oh, you're not even gonna be able to see. Okay, this sample comes up to here on my head. So this is a 5-foot long sample. And they let me bring home as many of these as I wanted. This is probably the color we're going with, which is Bailey's Beach Oak. It leans a tiny bit yellow, which I like better than red. I don't want it leaning gray. It's nice and light. It's nice and warm. Okay. Here's the point I want to make to you. Bringing home a sample this size and bringing home a sample this size is like a night and day difference in my ability to visualize, in my ability to see what this may look like, in my ability to kind of put myself in a space and see how a sofa would maybe look on that. You guys, I mean, I looked at that sample and I was giddy. And the truth is this little tiny sample from Lowe's, perhaps it, I'm fine with Lowe's and perhaps this would be a beautiful floor. And this is definitely an option, but because I can't visualize the whole thing, I'm just on the struggle bus with it. This big old sample over here now, this one's got my undivided full attention because it's huge. It's huge. That's what she said. Anyhow, okay, listen, putting it right behind me. Can you see that, Easton? I can't see that. There we go. We're going with that. There you go. Now you can see that sample. So I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about how Home Depot totally sold me just because that's a full, and not only Home Depot, but like that particular location, because the other Home Depot didn't have huge samples. I mean, theirs were probably 3 times the size of this little one, but it just made me start thinking, this is a business lesson, okay? This is a business lesson because I'm sold on that color on that sample because I could visualize the whole thing. I'm seeing it in greater detail. I'm getting a better idea. And I feel like how generous of Home Depot. And by the way, this is not sponsored. I wish that it was. I wish that just talking about Home Depot in this podcast right now got me a 50% off discount. It does not. If you work for Home Depot, send me an email, jen@jenniferallwood.com. I'd love to work with you. But it got me thinking, like, what can I take from this and share with you guys about business? Because when it comes to business, especially for those of you that are consulting, you're offering membership groups, you have a course, you have a consulting package of any kind, you do one-on-one coaching, etc. I think it is so important that you figure out a way how to do the same thing in business. How do you offer people a big enough example of what it is that you do? A big enough like rendition of what you have, a big enough sampling that they're like, okay, no brainer, 100% going to work with this person. Because I think sometimes it's that taste of something where it feels like, oh my gosh, that was so generous. And it's like a significant enough taste of the real thing that you're like, I'm in, I'm totally in. I think that that can be a game changer for so many of you. So I wanted to give you guys some examples today of how could you show your audience? How could you show your email list, the people who are currently following you? How could you give them a really good picture of what it is that you offer, a real good sample of that, okay? Let's say for those of you that have like a membership group. And by the way, these are, just random ideas, but I've tried actually a lot of these and had success with a lot of these. So if you have a membership group, I always think that it's a good idea because most of the time in a membership group, there's several things you offer throughout the month, right? It's not like you just do one coaching call and that's it. Although maybe you do, I don't know. And if it's that, then this example still works. But you could literally, like, let's say you give them something every week inside of your membership group, which is what I do inside of my Inner Circle Equipped group. Okay. So every week inside of the Inner Circle, they get something from me. They have a Q&A. They have a guest. They have the planner that we give them. They have another training that comes out. And so like, how could you put that into like a workshop? A 4-day workshop or a 4-day challenge. If you in your membership group give things out every other week, so you have 2 things a month, how could you do like a quick 2-day workshop where you give people a literal example of what they would find inside of your membership group? You could do like one day where you bring a guest in because you do that every month. You could go over like the planner that I create. You could go over that in one of your days, but that would give people a really good example of what it is that you're offering. You could also give people like a whole first month free, which would be another great idea. What happens when you do that is you are exposing people to your way of doing things. You're exposing them to your style of coaching, your methodology, your way of speaking, moving, your body language, et cetera, et cetera. You're getting people used to you. And sometimes that's how you can become a voice in their head, not in a creepy, like have voices in your head type of way. But when people say to me, I hear your voice in my head, Jennifer, those are some of the clients that I've worked with for either the longest amount of time or I've had the biggest impact on when I hear them say things like, I hear your voice in my head, like, what would Jennifer do? And so if you can kind of get them literally used to your physical voice and hearing from you and that sampling, that if it's chunky enough, friends, it could be the difference between somebody signing up with you and somebody not. Okay. Now, let's say you don't have a membership group, but maybe you're a coach, you're a consultant, you have a coaching package you're trying to sell. Well, could you give them the first 15 minutes free? And in that 15 minutes, could you just literally blow their socks off? Could you have them fill out like an input form before you ever get on that 15-minute call with them? So you're not playing, footsie while you get to know each other and you finally figure out what kind of questions they have for you, but instead You already know what it is that they're wanting to figure out from you in that 15 minutes. You do all the legwork up front. You get on a free 15-minute call with them. You give them an answer to something that they need. You give them a pathway. You give them an idea, something that blows their mind, and then you offer them your coaching package. Could you do a free 15 minutes with them? Could you do a first session half off? Could you do a group session for the first one and then sell everybody on individual packages? And most importantly, can you get them a win during that time? Like, how would you have to, orchestrate that, or what would that need to look like in order to get people a win? Because again, if you can leave people with a, oh my gosh, if that's what I got from her in 15 minutes, or wow, that just blew my mind. I can't believe I got more in that free 30-minute session than I did, working with the last 3 years with so-and-so. Like, I want you to think of what you could do for a free trial so that they can envision working with you long-term. And even more importantly in that, the breakthrough that you could help them to get. Listen, I'm telling you, this big old sample right here, I was done. And even if I didn't find that sample, it would have been another one from them, you guys, simply because I was able to envision it easier. I was able to see it. I'm going to write down the word envision because I haven't named this podcast episode yet. And maybe the word envision it is going to be in there. Related to this entire topic, we have a software that I've talked to you guys about on and off for the last, since, January 1st, which is called Equip 360. This is our marketing software that we worked for a long time to, we white labeled a software that is very, very popular. This is an all-in-one marketing software. I think it's the best all-in-one marketing software on the market right now. For those of you who are either starting business, you've just started your business, you're growing your business, or you're trying to scale your business. This has all of these different softwares, because if you've started your business, you know that you need an email provider. You need somebody to send out your text messages. You've got to have something to schedule your social media posts. You need something to send out text messaging. You need to go buy the URL for your website and your landing page, all those things. This has all of that in one. This is everything you need in your business, from email to texting to websites to course memberships, like a place to put your course, a place to put your membership, to social media posting, et cetera, et cetera. It has everything. And for those of you that were like, okay, I've heard Jen talk about her software, this is just a perfect lead into that, because I do have a free 14-day trial that we are only offering to our podcast listeners. This is full access to Equip 360 for 2 weeks. And this is not just you getting a tiny sample that, where's my tiny sample at? Where's my tiny dancer? This is not the tiny sample. This is the full meal deal right there. Okay. Because sometimes that tiny sample is just not enough. I think about one time I took Ari to McDonald's, and in one of the little Happy Meals, you guys, the French fries, there's like 4 in a package. Did you know that? Maybe it was just that McDonald's, but I'm like, that's not even enough to satisfy. You got, I need a medium, please. I need an extra large on that fry, the side of mayonnaise and ketchup for any of you that grew up in Iowa. But listen, so we're not giving you the small McDonald's French fries in this free 14-day trial. You're getting the whole thing, access to our entire software. This is the full-size floor sample. And so if you've thought about, okay, I know that I need a landing page. I know I need an email list. I know I need a website. I want you to go right now to Equipped. That's EQUIPT, Equipped 360.com/14 days free. Again, equip360.com/14 days free. And you can get started in the software. You can peek around. You can figure out if it's a good fit for you. We would love to give you that sample. This is something that we were thinking about doing anyway, but when I talked to the team and I told them, you guys, look at this sample that I got at Home Depot and look at how huge it is. It's 5 foot long. And here's the really cool thing. You know what? The lady at Home Depot's like, I'm like, do you need to write down my name or anything that I check these samples out? She's like, nope, just return them when you're done. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. And you're doing it on the honor system? Like, you have earned my business because that's just so generous. And so I want you to feel that way right now about myself and Team Allwood. We are trying to make a really generous offer for you to get 14 days free with our software at equip360.com/14 days free. So friends, I hope that this, even if you don't need the software, I hope that you learned something today. Give people a big enough sampling of what it is that you offer that they're able to envision working with you. They're able to envision breakthrough. They're able to envision what it must be that it would be like to coach with you on a more permanent, full-time, broader basis. If you can do that, I promise you, the selling is just going to come so much easier. I don't need anybody from Home Depot to call and sell me on this. I'm already a sold girl. Already a sold girl. And so I want that to be the experience that people have with you inside of your online business. So if you are coaching, consulting, have a course, have a membership, have coaching packages you're selling, I'm telling you, give people a big enough sample that they just can't wait to sign up with you. So, all right, friends, if this was good, would you give me a comment below? If you like my Top Gun / Barbie outfit, also give me a comment below. This came from the Pink Dinosaur here in Kansas City. That's my friend Ellie. I have done a podcast episode with her because she was one of the few people brave enough to open up a brick and mortar in the middle of COVID. And that girl, man, she just was interviewed by some people in New York. She is just kicking butt over here in Kansas City. So this is my outfit from her. And let me just know in the comments below what you thought of this episode. I can't wait to hear from you. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Recording stopped.
Easton, what say you? Does your mom look like Barbie? Or do I look like Top Gun? Or do I look like I'm in basic training?